My name is Dr. Barbara Schwark, and I am an executive coach. I'm the CEO of Clear Intentions International, and my specialty is to work with executives and CEOs and help them to take a deeper look at what's holding them back, especially as we're looking into the unconscious and the patterns that we sometimes can't really identify that are blocking us from moving ourselves forward. Today, I'm going to talk about time management and the connection between time management and happiness. So you might say to yourself, time management, that sounds like an oxymoron. Because what does time management have to do with happiness? But I will show you that it does. And we're going to first dive into time management, and then we're going to dive a little bit into happiness, and then we're going to connect the two topics. And throughout, I will give you topics and suggestions and hints that will make it easier for you to manage your time management and find happiness. Because at the end, if you have more time, you will be able to do more of the things that are important to you. And sometimes that's not so easy, because I recently talked to a client, and the person was telling me how much they were dreaming of, spending a week away in a cabin and just doing everything they wanted to. And oftentimes, even myself, when I have that kind of dream, then after a day, I realize it's, really difficult for me to actualize. So let's talk about time management. And I am giving you some basic tips because I want you to set it up properly. Oftentimes, we just want to tweak it, and we're hoping that if we're more effective and we think about it really hard, that we are saving time and we can be more effective. But it's actually not so. You need to really think about, how are you setting this up? How are you setting up time management for yourself? And the first thing that you want to do is you want to realize that there are only 168 hours in the week. That's it. 24 times 7 is 168 hours. And it doesn't matter what we do. We can force it, think it, wish it, but that's all we have. And the next thing that you want to do is you want to think about your life, and you want to look at the areas that you are involved with. Where's your energy going? Where are you spending your time? And you want to chunk it together. So maybe you have work, and you have your family, and you have taking care of yourself. Maybe you have a volunteer project, or you're taking care of your mom or your dad. So those are the areas where you are spending time. And if this is difficult for you to come up with the areas, you can use the Wheel of Life. It's an old coaching tool. I can send it to you, or you can Google it, and you'll see there are 7 areas plus 1 that's fill in the blank, and you can see that the work is already done for you. So look at the areas and intuitively think about, how much time am I spending there? Or if you want to write it down in percentages, you can do so as well. And then I want you to add it up, and I want to see, and I want you to see for yourself, like, where are we? Are we at 200 hours? Are we 168? Are we below? And that will give you a pretty good idea of how bad this time management, or you managing your time, actually is. Oftentimes, what I find with my coaching clients is that there are 200 hours, and there's only 168. So what does that mean? It means that we sacrifice sleep, that we don't get things done, that we feel bad about ourselves because we're constantly behind, and we are allowing ourselves to be victimized by this whole notion of time. So your first homework will be to come up with a more realistic matrix for yourself. Somehow you have to pare it down. You have to let go of things and get it closer to the 168 hours. And please do not sacrifice sleep, because most of my clients will do that. And it's important that you get, your 6 or 7.5. Sometimes I even recommend 9 hours a day, and that might seem crazy, but it's really important. So you need to get it to a better, closer, realistic way, and so that you can get close to the 168 hours. The next thing that you want to do is you want to take a look at and see how you manage your time on a daily basis. So what I often recommend, if you're starting out, is that you write down your goals every day, and then you do a couple things. First of all, you look at the consequences of negative consequences of what is going to happen when I am not doing this or not completing this task. You also want to look at the positive consequences. What am I doing if I'm actually going to complete this? And then most important, you want to assign a time value to that task. So let's say I want to clean my house and I have 5 hours of coaching and I want to exercise and I want to watch a movie and I have a proposal due. I want to assign time value. So 5 hours of coaching, proposal is going to take 3 hours, exercising an hour, watching a movie 2 hours, and cleaning the house 5 hours. And so if I add that all up, you can do the math for me. You can very quickly see that I don't have all the time in the day to get that all done. And so I want to look at the consequences. Is there really a consequence for me not cleaning my house today? What's the consequence of me not watching the movie? What's the consequence of me rescheduling my clients? And so therefore I will be able to prioritize and I will be able to come up with a realistic set of goals to accomplish that day. And here is a little secret that I heard a long time ago. Every time that you make a commitment, and that includes setting a goal, there is a part inside of you that keeps track. And when you are keeping your commitment, the part inside of you is very happy and pleased and applauds you. And your self esteem, your level of feeling good about yourself goes up. And every time when you're not completing a goal or you have a list and you look at the list and you say, oh, I did these 2 things, but there's 5 things that I didn't do, you are not feeling so great and your self-esteem will go down. And this is how it is with human beings. So I recommend that whatever you put on the list, you know for sure that you're going to accomplish it. And what is really important is that the list is your list so that you don't have another list in your head that says, oh, maybe I'm going to do this, or maybe I will clean the house, or maybe I will call this client back, or maybe I will go to the store. No, the list is the list, and then you stick to the list, because otherwise this whole notion of feeling good about yourself won't happen, because in the background of your head you have this other thought that says, oh, well, maybe I didn't really accomplish my list because there was something that I didn't do. If you have unforeseen stuff, like if you are a manager or a CEO and there's constantly things coming up and you have to put out fires, make sure that there's some empty space in your calendar. And so that the 12 hours that you're working, or hopefully it's just 8, that there may be 2 hours of that, those 8 hours that are not scheduled with activities. It is very important that if you want to feel good about time management, that you move yourself away from this notion of being a victim to somebody who's being empowered. And that can only happen if you looked at your 168 hours, if you looked at the areas where you spend time, if you pared it down to a more realistic number, and if every day you take a look at the goals that you want to accomplish and you accomplish your goals. It's a little bit like diets, We all have been on the diet, and usually the diets start on Monday and they finish on Monday. And by the 5th time or the 10th time that you've been doing it, it's there's no part inside of you that will actually believe that you're going to stick to the diet, because your experience is telling you that it's not working. Okay, so that is a little bit about time management, part 1 about time management. And let's go, and I'm going to give you a few general tips about time management. First of all, some of you are people that are constantly on your phone, or you have Snapchat, or you have some sort of product that you're using through work, and you're constantly bombarded with emails or messages. I highly suggest that you turn it off when you're working on something, and that you only check your emails, I'm going to say four times a day. You want to check it in the morning, you want to check it before lunch, you want to check it after lunch, and you want to check it before you go home or before the end of the day. And if there's something that's so super, 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 super important and you miss that email, your person or your boss or whoever needs to get in contact with you will find a way to get in contact with you. And that way that you are actually controlling your time better because you're not constantly distracted. Because you know what happens when you read an email, you take in that information, your mind wanders very, and sometimes you actually act on it, but you're off of what you were doing. There's a study, and I think it came out by MIT, and it's about multitasking. And what the study is telling us is that there isn't such a thing as multitasking. We can't. Our brain will segment the tasks. And so even though it would look like you're multitasking, it is still jumping from this to this to this to this to this, meaning you are causing fatigue and you're less effective at the end of the day. So check your emails 4 times a day. It's plenty. And turn off whatever devices or whatever messages you have that are distracting you from you actually doing your work and your tasks. Number 2, you need to stick to your schedule. So once you've set your schedule, you need to stick to it. Because if you don't, all hell will break loose and everything will collapse and you won't know where to fit things in. So once you do this, commit to it and test it out. Maybe do it for a week, maybe do it for 2 weeks and see if you have more time, if you feel better about yourself, and if you're more effective. So you must stick to the schedule. Number 3, if you're new to this and you're telling me, I don't really know where to start, what I would suggest is that you take a week or 2 and you record all your activities. Record what you're doing. Maybe you can track on your phone how much time you're spending on Facebook or LinkedIn, or you can limit it. And you can track when you are reading your email and track all your activities. Maybe even track how long am I showering, or how long does it take me to do certain things? How much television am I watching? So that you are aware of where your time is going. And then you can maybe go back to the exercise that I suggested in the beginning, and that you look at the 168 hours and say, okay, so I have a better idea now where my time is going, but actually I would like to have my time go somewhere else. And so then you can, put certain categories down and increase certain categories or add categories. Make sure that you block time slots to work on things. So sometimes, people these days we a lot of the times we work from home. So you can do it on your calendar. You can say you're unavailable. Sometimes you also want to have a sign on your door if you're still going to the office or you're at home, and the sign says I'm not available, and don't disturb me unless it's really, really urgent and you need to talk with your team or your coworkers or your family, and you need to explain to them what urgent means, so that you can think or you can get things done. If you're an entrepreneur, the rule of thumb is that you spend 30% on marketing, 60% on fulfillment, and 10% on administration. So if I work 10 hours a day, it's easy math. That means 50 hours. I have a total of 50 hours, and 60% of that would be 36 hours, 30 hours, and accordingly. So I can then decide if I want to take from that 60 hours or from that 30 hours of marketing or 10 hours of administration and work on something. But if you use this in your job, you can see that maybe that 60 hours is where you actually do your job and it's not meetings. Or you can find a way to split up that 60% so that you have X amount of percentage time involved in meetings, and some of the time actually spent on fulfillment. So make sure that you block time to work on things, and make sure that you block time for lunch, or that you block time to walk around the block or get a glass of water. There's this notion in our culture that we have back-to-back meetings, and it's actually impossible. If you have a 10 and 11 and 12 or 1 or 2 or 3, when will you eat? When will you go to the bathroom? It used to be harder when we had to go from office to office, Now it's a little easier because we're at home or we're with the computer, but still, make sure that you block an hour, half hour, 15 minutes, whatever you can. Okay, so those are some things about time management. Now, if you do that, you will see that you will be in charge, or you will be able to schedule some unstructured time. And unstructured time is kind of the time where I don't have goals. I can have goals, but there are no expectations of what to do with that time. And research has shown that happy people need a minimum of 2 hours of unstructured time. Now, you may have some unstructured time, but you're not really aware of it. And what makes the difference there is that you're actually aware of the fact that now from 2 to 4, I have unstructured time and I can do whatever I like with it. And it's very different than you just coming home, plopping down on the couch and turning the TV on and sort of wedging out. So because you're not intentional about understanding and letting yourself know that I have these 2 hours. So if that is really true, let's take a look at why and what unstructured time could actually do for us. So I took a deeper look and did some research on this notion of having unstructured time. And the first thing that I found out is that for most people, and I mentioned this at the beginning, this is going to be a little uncomfortable because we're okay with, watching TV or maybe surfing on our phone and kind of just having unstructured time that seems more like wasting time. But we're not really okay with this notion of, hey, oh my God, I have 2 hours. I can do whatever I like. It brings up discomfort for people. Unconsciously, people might say, I'm not worthy of it. I have to work all the time. Sometimes, and I think this is actually a lot of the times, we will feel uncomfortable feelings. We will see things that we don't want to see. Our denial will be less in place. And there's a reason why we keep ourselves busy, because then we don't have to deal with all this other stuff that doesn't feel comfortable. So if that's you, I'm going to suggest that you start slow. And maybe you have 15 minutes of unstructured time, and then you build it up and just see how it feels. Other reasons for us to have unstructured time is to increase our creativity. So one of the things that was also noticed is that when we have unstructured time, we can think about ideas and things will come up, connections will be made. And in that space of our brain, all parts of our brain, the neocortex, the limbic system, and the reptilian brain system will be more relaxed. And that will allow for more creativity to come up. Okay, so benefits, just to summarize. So benefits of unstructured time would be increased productivity, increased creativity, and this byproduct of happiness will show up because there is not the pressure present for you to perform or for you to have a particular outcome. Now, let's put this all together. I talked to you about, some basic time management strategies, and I talked to you about unstructured time. So what happens and how can we have more happiness when we manage our time? So one more thing to put in your space is that oftentimes we talk about, taking care of ourselves first so we can help take care of others. And this is an old philosophy that's often misunderstood. And the notion here is that you take care of yourself, not because you must take care of somebody else. But when you take care of yourself, first of all, you're a role model and you have energy available. But also you will be in a better space and better position to take care of other people if you choose to do so. So when you manage your time in a more effective way, you'll be able to take better care of yourself because there's all of a sudden space available. And when you do so, it brings more happiness because you're in a better space. I'm a parent, I have 2 kids, and let me tell you, some days I am so tired and I didn't work my time management as good as I could, and I didn't get the rest, and yet there's still, kids to take care of. And I'm not as happy because I do it because it's a duty and I want to, but I'm not as joyous because maybe I have a short fuse. I'm not able to be as patient as I want to be. So if I had managed my time better, I would have been happier because I would have been able to fill up my cup. And then I choose to take care of my kids. I would be able to take care of them with a full cup. So we have a couple more minutes, and let me tie it all together for you. Effective time management will help us spend less time doing what we don't want to do and more time of what we want to do, especially if you schedule unstructured time, but also if you schedule free time and with intention and goals. Unstructured time allows us to decrease the stress because we are able to be free and we're able to check in with ourselves and just to see how we feel and what we want to do. Time blocks will improve productivity. Keeping your goals in a realistic way and structuring and scheduling so that you can actually accomplish them and check them off at the end of the day will produce happiness because you will increase your level of self-esteem and your level of self-confidence. And only that will make you feel better because we like to feel good about ourselves. So hopefully I gave you some tips, and what I recommend that you do is you just take one of those tips and implement them for a week or 2 weeks. Take baby steps and then just see how that works out. If you're seeing some progress, if you see that you're feeling yourself better, that you feel better about yourself and the way that you manage your time, continue or maybe add something to this. This is all about you being your own sort of explorer and experimenting with time management. Don't expect that everything's going to get fixed in 5 minutes because probably it's been a little bit messy and difficult for a while. But with time, and if you practice those tips, things will change and you will have a different experience about your day, about your week, and about your month. Hopefully, I'll see you again next time. My name is Barbara Schwark, and have a great week. Take care.